Hello, this is wildlife biologist Eric Orff with New Hampshire Fish and Wildlife. You know, for many years I owned and operated a business called Bat and Wildlife Control Specialist. Let me tell you how I got started and at least a little bit about what I did. Well, in 1956, I happened to be 6 years old and living in northern Maine, eastern Maine, and I discovered if I went down the shore of the Presteel stream in town, where the town beach was, right at sunset, there would be bats flying above. And I could throw a rock up in the air and the bats would chase it down. So I learned that I could interact with bats, and they held a very interesting part in my mind for many years. Fast forward till the summer of 1982. I happened to be working for the New Hampshire Fishing Game Department as a black bear biologist and a wildlife biologist, and the chief of the game division, Howie Now, would go out several nights a week with someone from the pesticide control board, and they would go to houses that had colony of bats, large colonies of bats, probably maternal colonies, and they would certify that there was a colony of bats. And guess what? They would issue a permit allowing a pest control operator to come and spray DDT in the attic to kill the bats, the whole colony. It really bothered me when I learned that. So that next winter, I studied up on bats and learned about them, and by February of 1983, I began my business called Bat and Wildlife Control for almost the next 25 years. So that next summer, I would go to homes and bat-proof them. Basically, my day job was a wildlife biologist for New Hampshire Fish and Game, and my night job was Batman, the real Batman. So I would go to the homes in the evening, observe the bats flying out. First I'd go there and observe the house with binoculars, and you could usually tell where the bats were coming and going by the oil from the fur that would rub off, or the droppings that were near the entrance or exits. Then I would wait for the bats to go out, about a half hour after sunset. Then I would seal the last hole. I'd go around first and seal the other hole. So no secret technique. It's called bat proofing. It was the humane way to control bats. And then I'd go up in the attic, and if there were any stragglers, simply take them out. Well, I think a few winters later, 2 or 3 winters later, I'm guessing it was around 1985, though I haven't actually checked the specific day in my diary, but I recall doing a bat job over the winter at the Webster Street fire station in Manchester, where the firemen would wake up in the wintertime to bats flying overhead. So I went down and got into the attic of this large firehouse and discovered there were big brown bats hibernating. Well, I like bats. I certainly would not want to harm these bats. So I figured the best way to make the firemen happy and safe was to capture the bats and bring them home. So I brought them home in a big paper bag. A couple dozen, I think, was my memory of the first time I brought them home. Well, I wanted to keep them safe and kind of in hibernation, so I figured, well, I'll just poke some holes in this bag and set them down in the basement. Well, it seemed to work for a while, but I guess the holes are a little too big. And all of a sudden my wife would be going down in the basement to do the laundry and would look into the washing machine to put a load of washing, and there would hang a bat. Well, I think she slammed the hood down, the top of the thing down, and when I was home I would certainly get it, but it happened quite often, actually. And my son was, I think, 5 or 6 at the time, and he would tell her every time, well, Mom, I think that was the last one. But, a few days later, there'd be another one. So she learned to open the cellar door a little way and put her hand inside and flick the light on for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, then go down in hopes that there wouldn't be a bat hanging out in the washer. Well, there were, and that went on for much of the winter, and a few of the bats died, but by spring I was able to release as many bats as I could and save the bats. That worked sort of, but she was not very happy with bats in her washer. I remember the next winter, I can't remember exactly where I took the bats from, but that winter I secured them into a more tight container and I hid them in our walk-in bedroom closet. They didn't escape, but I did. That was my story about a cellar full of bats.